Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and we have gathered here once again today and tonight. It's Doctor Who night, like we do every month, and it's Colin Baker, Attack of the Cybermen. Now, some people have mixed opinions on this episode. I like it, but what do our group here have to say? What do my fellow Geeks members have to say on this? And we will go to Lee Wilson first, but I think he's having a pick of his feet at the moment. So, Lee, if you don't mind, could you do that in your own time, please? And will you give your your review, your opening thoughts of Attack of the Cybermen?
Right. Attack of the Cybermen. This is where Doctor Who returned to Saturday night viewing in the UK. And it was in a different format. It was 45-minute episodes. For me, it didn't work in that sort of time thing. It should have been a four-parter, in my opinion, with cliffhangers as usual. But that aside, it's an enjoyable story. It's a nod to the past. There's a lot of nodding to the past with Telos, Mondas, Cyber Controller, same actor playing him. Got Lytton, who appeared in Resurrection of the Daleks, and of course Totters Lane. But for me, the one thing about this one is when Doctor Who was off air before this came back, John Nathan Turner was a publicity stunt organizer, and he was saying he was going to get rid of the police box. He was going to get rid of it. He was going to get rid of it. He knew what he was doing, and so the first few minutes of the episode, there's no more police box. It's an organ. It's something else, and all like that. And you think, oh my God, he's gone and done it. But apart from that, by the end of it, the old police box is back. But yeah, for me, the story, I think there's too much going on in it. To be honest, there is too much. Everybody gets separated, and there's about 4 different stories going along at the same time. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing with other people, but for me, it could have been toned down a bit for me. So that's my opening thoughts on this. And also, that is the cleanest sewer I have ever seen. And but it's not often I go in sewers. But it is the cleanest sewer I have ever seen. Over to you, Alan.
It sounds like if you do go in sewers quite a bit, Lee. But,
only after a few drinks.
But actually, this episode, when people talk about violence in Doctor Who in the 80s, this episode is one that is brought up because of the climax and the Doctor shooting the cyber leader. So yeah, I mean, some people prefer Doctor Who being violent and other people don't. I suppose it's subjective. I mean, let's go to Harry.
For me,
yep.
This story is not one of my favorites from Colin's era. Too many continuity references. It's basically JNT and Eric Sayward taking the show from what it had been for years and trying to turn it into something a little bit more adult, and it failed big time. The ratings dropped. The groups that were clamoring for Doctor Who's cancellation used this as part of the basis for cancellation. And the story's title author, Paula Moore, there was no Paula Moore. Paula Moore was a pseudonym for Eric Sayward. Sayward could not take credit for the story because he had already written and taken credit for Twin Dilemma, and the BBC would not allow him to do that. So he had to come up with a pseudonym, and he used the pseudonym Paula Moore. And said the ratings just tanked big time because of the violence. People were still buzzing about the way Colin's character had been in Twin Dilemma. Added to the fact that you've got the new format. Instead of the 4x25 format, you now have the 2x45 minute format. Fans didn't care for it. People didn't like it. It just caused a major upturn. It just gave Michael Gray and his people all the more power to call for the termination of Doctor Who, which they eventually got with Sylvester McCoy, but we'll go into that if and when I ever get around to getting in with you guys again on a Sylvester McCoy story. But for me, I've seen better, I've seen worse. This is not one of the better Doctor Who stories. So I'll return to you, Aled, and we'll see what the rest of the cast has to say.
Yep, and we will be doing a Sylvester McCoy story next month, by the way, because we do them first Doctor, second Doctor, you know, in order like that.
Just
so it'll be Sylvester McCoy next month.
If I've got it on DVD, I'll watch it. You know me, I've got the books. Oh,
yep,
Lord,
yep.
do I have the books.
Yeah, we know you got the books. Don't you worry. You're like a library. Let's go to Jake. You muted, Jake. Well, you're not muted, but we can't hear you. Are you plugged in? Have you pushed it? Oh, push it in. That's it. Get a push.
There we go. Right. I've unplugged myself. Right. Attack of the Cybermen is one of my more preferred Colin Baker stories, in my opinion. I think it's a much better improvement to lead on from the atrocity that was the Twin Dilemma. And it's a nice little two-part. I have to disagree with what Lee said about the two-part 45-minute format. I think it was a nice, short little story. I like the continuity references. I agree with what Harry says. There was a bit too many. Didn't really like the idea of the TARDIS camouflaging like over the chameleon circuit, because Doctor Who is the police box. And if you're going to take that, it doesn't seem like Doctor Who. It seems like hard to make sense. But this, I did like that Lytton, was his name Lytton from Resurrection of the Daleks? I like that he came back. But was he really needed? I think he was just in a story because, oh, he's been with the Daleks, let's put him with the Cybermen sort of thing, if that makes sense. I like the setting of the sewers. I agree with Lee again that the sewers were too clean. Sewers dirty, sewers like muggy and stuff. And they missed a very good opportunity not using the stealth Cybermen more. They were hardly in it. And then we had the lovely background Cyberman who was waddling about not knowing what he was doing, like what we had with Warriors of the Deep, the same issue I had with that story. That's fondling about, walking into walls and stroking the buttons. Great technician work there. I bet you're great at flying a spaceship. But apart from that, yeah, I really enjoyed this story. Not one of my favourites, but it's nice. It's a nice little pleaser, if that makes sense.
But Jake, I like the monsters in the background, the Cybermen in the background wandering around not knowing what to do. I like that. It's part of the fun of it. And that was a good review, Jake, but I have to admit, too much agreeing with Lee. Too much, honest, and everybody else, stop agreeing with Lee. It's a very dangerous thing to do. Lee, do you agree? Yes, exactly. Let's go to Ethan.
Well, I have to agree with Lee on the sewers. Again, the sewers in the talons of Wayne.
You lot know a lot about sewers and how dirty sewers should be.
The sewers in the talons of Wayne Chen were more dirty than that. But anyway, joking aside, yeah, this one it's not great, but it's not bad either. But it is one of the better Colin Baker stories. And I do remember actually when I couldn't remember if this was the episode where they changed the TARDIS like to a different thing. And I do remember back then we were like, "What? They're changing it? You've got to be kidding!" And of course, when he does it, he's done it. But of course, by the end, he's back to being a phone box. It was nice seeing Lytton again because I do like him as a villain, and it was quite neat to see his evolution from Resurrection of the Daleks to how he is in this one. And I do like the nods to like the past when they mentioned the companions like Jamie, Susan, Zoe, and Tegan, and the foreman scrapyard. That was really nice. I always like those moments. 45-minute episode in a classic episode did seem a bit weird to me. I think I'm just so used to like the classics being like 25 to 30 minutes. And I do agree with this one. Maybe it could have been splitted into 4 parts. There was a lot going on because then you've got the 2 guys trying to escape from Talos, the guys who are like half Cybermen, which eventually we know what happens to them. They just die. And then you've got the Cryons. You've got Lytton's bank robbing mates, and there was a lot. But it's the whole thing, like Al had said, the violence in it. They always point this one out, but I remember, I think it's the next episode after this one, Vengeance on Varos, where he pushes, the Sixth Doctor does, he pushes two guys or a guy into an acid pool. And of course we're all like, oh my God, that's a bit dark, isn't it, for Doctor? He pushes it and there's a skeleton and he cracks a joke. I thought, oh, Roger Moore will be happy with that one. But
he didn't push, he just stepped aside and the dude fell over.
all right, I couldn't remember if he
You
pushed
didn't.
him or fell
There was no violence in that motion. It was just, oh, I don't want to go in. He's gonna knock me in. So
Yeah, but I think the point is the Doctor wasn't being caring, was he? The Doctor wasn't. He just made a joke after.
He just made a joke like, oh,
Yeah.
a guy falls into acid, literally melts into a skeleton, and he's just like, oh, joke time.
It was.
I think the line was,
I've
forgive
seen-
me if I don't join you. I think that was...
Yeah, he says, you'll forgive me if I don't join you.
Yeah, which is a bit heartless when you think two people have just died.
Which you think, but anyway, that's a different story. I've seen more violent stuff. Great scene. These Cybermen I love. To me, these are proper Cybermen, like the old Cybermen, like even the first incarnations when it was William Hartnell, the 10th Planet. Those are Cybermen. The Cybermen from Tom Baker, John Pertwee, Tom Baker, all the way up to Colin Baker. These are Cybermen to me. I love these Cybermen. And
John Pertwee didn't face Cybermen.
Oh no, he
Sorry.
didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry. Of course he didn't.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did in the
Yes,
fight.
I know. Yes, I know. Apart from in the Five Doctors, yeah, but he didn't have a dedicated Cyberman episode in his era.
Oh well.
Carry on now.
But you're doing Big Finish now.
Yeah.
But not John Pertwee though.
No,
third
no,
Doctor,
but he
but
does
not
a
John
damn
Pertwee.
good. But he does a damn good job of impersonating him.
Still not John Pertwee. Carry on, Ethan. After that rude interruption from the man from Hull, who knows a lot about sewer hygiene.
But overall, I do like this one. It is one of the better ones. Like I said, not great, not bad, but it is a good, decent Cyberman episode, and that's pretty much what I think of it.
And now let's go to Stephen Price. Alex is eating at the moment.
I have to disagree with Lee with when it comes to the sewers.
Oh, thank God for that.
'Cause
What are they
it's-
like in Swansea? They're very clean in Swansea, I can imagine.
All the sewers are above the sewers in Swansea.
Carry on.
Lee, it's a TV show. It's not real. That was studio. That one, the real sewer.
I know it's not a real sewer, but that was so clean. The floor was gleaming.
You can see a Cyberman in the background eating his dinner. Oh, I'm back on watch now. Cheers, guys.
If you're gonna make a sewer scene, make the sewers look like a sewer.
Yeah, but the problem is, do you know what's in sewers, Lee? I mean, there is a cheap way around it. And we're not going to go into it there. Let's Stephen Price carry on.
Lighting, they tried to get away with it because of how dark those scenes were. I thought, let's not make it dirty because they think it looks dirty the way it is with all the dark lighting and all the detail it brings out, which fell through the floor. Didn't work at all. But you know what I'm trying to say? That because it was so dark, I thought, let's save a few quid and not make it look dirty, sort of thing.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Let's go, Stephen.
Well, yeah, I enjoyed the episode. The only downfall of the episode was it was a bit too short. Like Lee said, it should have been a bit longer.
No, I don't think Lee said it should be longer. He said it should be 25 minutes each.
Like 5 or 6 parts, like, you know.
Oh, you'd rather it be 5 or 6 parts?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know, like the old form. You know, like.
Yeah,
song.
yeah, like an episode from, say, John Pertwee.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you had the long episode. Yeah, that's fair enough.
I prefer that. Yeah.
Let's go to Susan and Alex now.
Hang on. I do
That's
like
it. You're all
the
right now.
I do like the characters. But yeah, if it means getting rid of Vengeance on Varos, then I'm all for that. I really enjoy Vengeance on Varos. Now that's the one that if it had had a really big budget, I think it would have been wonderful. Colin Baker, unfortunately, the costume is too loud and the stories are very violent. So you have Varos, which is violent. You have, what is it, Revelation of the Daleks, which is very violent. You have a woman stabbing a guy. So I actually find that more objectionable, actually.
Huh.
And technically, wasn't this supposed to be a family show or during family hour? And they're showing a lot of violence for a supposedly family
They
show.
started in Tom Baker's years.
Right.
So-
No, and you know, most TV shows have some kind of violence in them at one point. And he does show that it hurts, which is fine. But it did kind of get to a point where it was a little bit gratuitous. And it was because in Revelation of the Daleks, you have people getting stabbed, crushed. I mean, it's like, wow. In this one, it's still violent. But that's the other dichotomy, is the fact that if you're the Doctor and you're fighting villains and you're fighting villains that are very close to Nazis, you can't really fight them 99% of the time without using any type of violence. You know, I mean, so, I mean, it made sense in a way, but it was just, I think they were trying again. That's the other issue with Doctor Who is the fact too many villains coming back with every Doctor. And then on top of that, you have to have some contrast. So it's very hard to juggle, you know, how violent, how nasty the characters are. But I mean, it's very arch. It's very gritty. I guess some people would call it edgy.
Mhm.
This is the 80s after all, and there's a lot more violence in the TV shows now, whereas in the 70s, unless you were watching ITV or other shows, it happened off screen. You didn't get to see it on screen. But I still like it. It is a little overlong. But like I said, they were trying to have a contrast from Tom Baker and Peter Davidson, where the violence was very minimal. But the Cybermen have always been violent, so that's the other thing you have to think about.
It's balanced.
So anyway, that's the beginning. I do like it, but yeah, Varos is better. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's balance, isn't it? Tom Baker's time, they accused his showrunner and him of being really violent and scary, and so I mean, I guess that has been going on for a while. And in terms of loud costumes, I'm not opposed. I really love Colin Baker. I think that and I love his Doctor, and I love his Doctor's outfit, his kit. And I just think that, you know, it's brilliant. I love the Cybermen and how deadly they are, but I love the ones that are confused or sick or walking around, you know, not quite functioning properly. But also I like the ones that are, and the Cyber Leader and the Cyber Controller and that Dalek time ship that obviously Lytton stole from the Revelation of the Daleks. I mean, Resurrection, sorry. And so that was really interesting, you know, that time ship was the same as the Dalek time ship. And I love the other thing that's really cool about it is the cryoids, or what are they called? Cryons. And like, they are super cool. Like, they have chocolate chip faces and chocolate chip and ice cream faces, and that's really beautiful. They look a bit like like Lee is showing you the fingernails. Yeah, like the fingernails are beautiful, and I like the I mean the crystalline structure sort of thing that is like Eldred. I mean, like that's kind of a harkening back, but they more look like chocolate chip ice cream to me, with a little mustache or whatever. And so that was fun, and I love the story behind them. I love the fact that Telos actually had planet intelligent creatures that lived there before and are fighting to regain or stop or change the course of cyber events, as it were, and force the Cybermen to into some sort of into some sort of loss, into some sort of defeat, and that's fun. And so, and all of the Easter eggs were fun. Yeah. So it was brilliant, and that's my opinion on the subject.
Thank you, Susan. And on the topic of Easter eggs, actually, I used to like them, and I don't really anymore. I used to like all the references to the past, which, we're talking about the 80s here, but the past then, with Trotter's Lane and stuff like that. And it's like, now I don't. And I think that's because, mainly because of, it's happened so often with Doctor Who that we keep on getting references and going back and seeing things and talking about things that have...
Howard, just hold on. You can't have a story without a like sort of a flow from the past to the present to the future. I mean, it's hard to tell a story without that.
No, I think you can. We get a lot of references to the past, which I don't think is needed. But actually, I'm with Susan. I like Colin Baker's costume. I don't get the hate for it. I generally do like this costume. I think it suits his Doctor, his style of Doctor, to the ground. If he wore what Christopher Eccleston wore, I mean, unless he acted differently, which he could have done, I don't think it would have suited his Doctor, because his Doctor is loud and brass and, over the top. And that's what I like about him. He's not my favourite Doctor, but he's a great Doctor. And I like this story, actually. I'm not a huge fan of the Cybermen overall. I think they have more average episodes than they do good episodes. But this episode, it's all right. It's quite good. I don't like Lee and others have said, the 45-minute format. To be honest, I'd prefer it if New Who didn't use the 45-minute format. I like the 25-minute format and how it's split up and you have a cliffhanger after 25 minutes. I like that. I don't think this episode, like Stephen Price said, should be longer. I think
might make episodes even cheaper to make if they kept it to 25 minutes. I'll stop interrupting.
No, that's fine. No, you can interrupt whenever you want, Susan. No, I don't know if it make episodes cheaper. It will certainly keep the series on for longer, which I think is a good idea, because then you get people. Television is all about habit. You need people to come back week after week after week and get them in a habit. So if you run the series for longer, you will get them into a habit of coming back. So if you ran it every Saturday for a good few weeks, there's no good putting it on for 10 weeks because people won't get into the flow of it. That was part of the problem with the split season, is that they only aired 6 episodes and then it went off for months. Well, people don't get used to it and don't get in the habit. So I definitely agree. It actually should go back to 25 minutes. I mean, we know it's not, but it should do. Anyway, like I say, I like this story. I've always liked this story. Is it the best story? No, but I generally think it's a good story. Lee's twiddling his pen on something. That you what's up, Lee? Harry was going to say something.
For me, Alan, this
Yep.
is just my point of view, but if they wanted to go 45 minutes, they should have started off with Twin Dilemma. They should have gone with Twin Dilemma, start off the 45-minute format instead of doing it at the end of season 21.
Yeah.
They should put it right on at the beginning of season 22. That way people could have gotten into the format, gotten an idea of what Colin's character was going to be like. I've got no problem with Colin's costume, but as I said, to me, it's just the way they set it up. They started off with the 4x25 with Twin Dilemma, and then they jumped the next season into 2x45 or 3x45 with two doctors. It just made it hard for people to follow. They were so used to 25-minute format.
Yep.
Going to 45-minute format it caused a lot of people to lose interest because they were so used to doing your dinner time and everything with the 25-minute format. Going to 45 just ruined everything for everybody. And instead, it gave Michael Grade, Colin Powell, and all their followers all the more ammunition they needed to try and pull the plug on the show. And as I said, with all the violence that was put in the attack, Varos, all the other stories this season, it just gave them all the power they needed to put the show on, to cancel the show and push JNT to do what he did for Trial of a Time Lord.
I disagree with that because the violence was, calling into reality, like the jeopardy, and at times with 5e with Peter Davison, it didn't seem like there was much jeopardy.
I don't think the Doctor should use a gun.
Well, the
I
other
think the Doctor's better than that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
well, the other issue too is unfortunately, the show was showing its age. The BBC didn't know what to do with it. They've
Sounds
had.
like, are you talking about now or
Yeah,
then?
they still have a problem with it. And the other issue too is the fact that then when they tried to show it to American audiences, the only issue with that was, yes, it was over long. But the thing is, they were trying to change the format. Of course, they did cover it with a lot more bickering and a lot more violence in terms of the villains and the rest of the cast. Colin Baker is a very good doctor, but the problem is it's so jarring as well. You go from Tom and you go from Peter Davidson that were very pleasant and, the companions were in the background to Colin Baker's loud, brash, yelling, costume is, hard on the eyes, and then he's fighting with Perry. So I think the problem is the only people that I know that really loved it from the beginning were people from Australia. I've bumped into a lot of Australian fans that they love the change. They love the 45 minutes. They love the costume. They love that's the other thing too.
Because they don't have any shows that are half an hour long down there.
Right. So that's the other question. And unfortunately, it's a moot point because the show got canceled twice. Well, on hiatus with Colin Baker and then canceled with McCoy after 1989. And the issue, too, is now there's the internet. So back then, yes, you were watching TV unless you had a special hookup or unless you had VHS. You were watching it. You had to watch it. The American fans had to wait years to see it, or they had to wait for a PBS station to air it. Now, the Boston station, the Cambridge station, would actually start showing it at midnight. So that was very hard. And then you have to deal with Trial of the Time Lord later on, which is very overlong, as much as I like it. And that's the other thing, too. You want to talk about Easter eggs. What about the sequels? I mean, almost every story has a sequel in the Colin Baker era. You have Varos and you have Mindlash. and you have Attack of the Cybermen and what was it? Resurrection of the Daleks from the Fifth Doctor era. So you
Time
have
Lash, you mean?
Yeah.
Time. You said Mind Lash.
Oh, sorry, but you know what I mean. No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
Is that there's actually 4 stories that are actually sequels. And then Trial of the Time Lord is, 13, 14 parts long.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you have to remember, too, not only the BBC wants to get rid of it, but the fact of there's a whole season that wasn't even aired. And, they left it on cliffhangers. And then the series was on a cliffhanger, the whole thing. So what was it? Revelation of the Daleks is on a cliffhanger because they don't even let the Doctor finish his last word. Then Trial of the Time Lord's on a cliffhanger. So, I mean, he was in, just like Capaldi, he was, one companion almost, the whole way through almost, and just very rough times. And I think that, that also shows in the stories that originally they wanted to change it. Harry, how different was the books? Because I know originally, according to the legends, right, they originally wanted to have it a lot more, pessimistic and a lot worse endings and things like that.
The books are, I hate to say it, but the books, to the most part, are, because they were written by the original authors, the guys who wrote the original stories, pretty much follow the TV show, how you see it on television. About the only difference is with 2 Doctors, and that's 2 Doctors and Mysterious Planet, because those were written by 2 of the greats. Two Doctors was the only novelization done by Robert Holmes. And Mysterious Planet was done by the Terrence Dicks. And that was originally a story written by Robert Holmes. So you've got a little bit going there, but
was the Attack of the Cybermen a pessimistic book, Harry?
it was somewhat pessimistic, but it's hard to really say because when you get the books, when they first come out, you're eager to read them, and you don't have at the time DVDs. You only get what, if anything, you've recorded off the air, so it's hard to compare the two. What was when they first come out versus what you've got now.
Can I just say, Lee, you got to get the 2 jars out because Harry's mentioned Terrence Dicks and Alex has mentioned Boston. So there we go.
Well,
that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Well, seeing as I'm unmiked, I'm going to say something else about this one. Because nobody's mentioned the actors who were in this. I mean, you've got. It's good to see Terry Malloy not playing Davros for a change in this.
Yeah, Terry Malloy is. We're doing so much Terry Malloy material. It's mind blowing.
And then you've got like another guest star, Brian Glover. He'd been in everything, from comedy, TV comedy to films back in the 60s up to Alien 3 and all like that.
Yeah. So isn't it true? Not only was he in Alien 3 with Paul McGann, but he was also the valet with Campion with Peter Davidson.
Correct. And the character Lytton came back because he got so real positive feedback from when Resurrection of the Daleks aired. The fans sort of clicked onto the character of Lytton, so John Nathan Turner says we've got to have him back. So that's how he came back. But yeah, and also the Cryons. You've even got a Blue Peter presenter in there, Sarah Green, playing one. And also you've got I don't know if the Americans might know it, but the British might know it. Faith Brown. She was still is an impressionist. Used to do the Margaret Thatcher impressions and stuff like that. She was last.
I remember her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. God.
Yeah, she was the Cryon with the big boobies. Faith Brown. Yes.
The one who dies at the end. Yeah.
One who dies, the one who blows herself up. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it does have a lot of special guest stars in this, and everybody who was in this played their part well. I mean, even David Banks, who played the Cyber leader. I mean, he's played the Cyber leader from way back from Earthshock onwards, and he's returning into Big Finish as well. So, yeah, so that's a good thing. So I've said another thing. So over to you, Ali. Do you want me to carry on?
Oh, you can carry on if you want. You can.
Well, what do you want to know? Do you want to know what I got up to today?
Yeah, what have you been up to today in Hull? Been in any
How-
cities?
How about telling favorite moments, eh?
No, don't worry. Who cares about that? Carry on. What have you been doing today, Lee?
Been stalking Peter Capaldi in Hull. No, I haven't done a thing really.
Oh, well, how exciting. That was exciting. Hasn't done a thing. No, he really hasn't. Can I? No, I can't say it on the cast, actually. I was going to say, if any time next week, Lee, you see a woman going down Hull High Street shouting, "Willie, where's Willie?" Just contact me, yeah?
Can I just say, will that be your mother? And I'm guessing Willie is your dad.
Yes, Willie, yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
she's in the shops, but she gets what she goes, Willie!
So it's next
I mean,
week.
one day she's going to attract the wrong type of person, I'm telling you.
Oh, she's a week too late. She could have come this week and see Peter Capaldi.
Oh, well, she's seen a lot of Doctor Who stars already.
Ah, well.
Lots of them, yeah. So that would have been on the list.
I'll just make sure that all my windows and doors are boarded up for their visit.
Just don't go out the house.
Exactly.
Just don't go out the house. Susan, you wanted favourite moments. What's your favourite moment then, Susan?
Okay, I like the bit with the trench and the walking over the bobby hat and the whole doctor in a bobby hat. That was hilarious. And then right away, Perry, being an American, pulls the silencer off the pistol and stuffs it in her trousers. Just like all we Americans do with our pistols. It was pretty funny. And here's your bit.
You should have seen Alex's face there when you said that.
No, it has an excellent cast. Colin Baker's portrayal is actually very good.
Alex, can I stop you a second? Favorite moments?
Yeah, I did say that.
Favorite moments?
So it is interesting when they're talking about the chameleon circuit and the fact that the console room seems to be shorting out. It's almost like it heard the Cybermen and started shorting out right away. And it does that throughout the whole episode if you look at it. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of jeopardy and risk. So in that respect, it is actually very good. It is funny in a way when it is a little bit Roger Moore-esque when he fights with that policeman and Perry says, well, what happened to him? And the doctor says, oh, he's having a little lie down. And then the fact that,
that is the best moment.
And then, no, not entirely.
No, but that whole scene was awesome.
But the other issue, too, is the fact that, he's playing it cagey with Malloy's character as well. And when Malloy says, if you shoot a police officer, you get 30 years. And he goes, oh, that's just a handful of heartbeats to me. It's like, I don't care. So, it's pretty funny. Yeah, the Sixth Doctor is nothing if not arch and sassy and violent when he has to be. But again, that's the thing. If you're fighting with somebody, you can't always talk your way out of it either. The Cryons are an interesting idea. It's too bad that the mask couldn't have been a little better. And it's too bad they can't bring them back with a little better makeup or a little better costume design. I did like the Cybermen. They look like RoboCop to me. That's fine. I know a lot of people disagree, but that's fine. So yeah, there's a lot of good scenes. There's very good scenes with Lytton. All of his scenes are good, even when they're discussing it in the, one of the rooms in the TARDIS. You have the self-destruct TARDIS. I mean, you have there's a lot of scenes in here that are very violent and hinting at violence and jeopardy and all that stuff. And even in the car, with, what's his name, Glover, going, I'm with you, Mr. Lytton, you're with anything to get your money. So you got a very kind of arch, a little bit nasty, dialogue there. And I think that's kind of, unusual. But I mean, it is unusual for Doctor Who, not for British shows in general, but for Doctor Who to be kind of, snarky and kind of arch. And the only other thing I didn't like was the fact that, Nicola Bryant was losing her accent. So she's kind of jumping in and out of an American, a British. She's, frightened one minute, not the next, and all that. And that kind of was slightly annoying. But I mean, I know a lot of people that, love her companion, always have.
Yeah, but you see, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. Lee, again, what do you want?
I just want to ask two questions.
It's not sewers again.
No, it's not sewers. There's two questions. The first question is,
who are you lot? What are we doing here?
What am I doing here? The first question is, how did the Sixth Doctor fix the chameleon circuit so easily when the Fourth Doctor couldn't even do it? And the second
That's called JNT.
And the second question is, how did the Cybermen get in the TARDIS?
Yeah, it is, yes.
Yeah, I thought that as well. I thought they got in quite easily, didn't they? No defense systems.
Yeah, but it's just lazy script writing, to be honest. That's what it is. It's lazy script writing.
The
Unless the
reason
book says something, Harry.
the reason they were able to get into the TARDIS is that the defense system was inoperable. It's been like that for some time. Even in Earthshock, it was shown that the defense system, which would normally prevent someone from operating a weapon in there, was not working. It was shown back then. So it's been like that for some time.
That's the defense system. It's entering the TARDIS. If the door's locked, you can't.
All you gotta do is find the open door and just walk right in. They never close the door.
They usually lock it.
They never locked it.
Anyway.
They never closed the door.
Can't he just click his fingers and lock it?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, because wasn't it Invasion of Time that the Centaurans were able to get in, and then
Yes, they were running through the swimming pool.
that was cool. You got to admit that was cool.
That wasn't the TARDIS.
And then what was it? Earthshock. So they actually reused something again because in Earthshock,
yes,
that's how some of the army got killed because the Cybermen got in. So that's twice.
Yes.
The Cybermen have been able to, and even Nyssa said to the Fifth
Maybe
Doctor,
they have the spare key. They might have the spare key, Alex.
Nyssa said to the Fifth Doctor, I thought you said that this was a state of grace in this console room.
Yeah, where he can't get, he can't fire weapons, So anyway, Jake's still eating. What are you eating, Jake?
Spaghetti bolognese.
Oh, lovely. Do you have anything more to add?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Not on your spaghetti bolognese. I mean,
With Colin Baker's got my favourite moment.
Oh, he's getting up now. Oh, flipping heck.
I know, I can move. My favourite moment is when the rogue Cyberman punches its fist out the tomb and smashes the other Cyberman's head in.
Yeah.
I like that bit.
You like your violence, didn't you? He's a very violent lad, Jake.
And I'm going to disagree with you on something you said. I actually liked it when the Doctor shot the Cyber Controller.
Yeah, I told you, very violent viewers. If you ever see Jake in the street, avoid him. Walk on the other side. A very violent man.
But I want to pick up on Colin Baker's Doctor, because he gets a lot of bad press and a lot of people really enjoy his run. I think Big Finish have given him an awful lot more build-up in character to make him so loved for me. And 80s Cybermen, I can't remember who said it, who really like 80s Cybermen, but that David Banks is so good. And he has been in an audio recently, and I really recommend that as well, because 80s Cybermen, I think, are the best Cybermen, voice-wise and stuff. I know people disagree with me, the Tomb of the Cybermen, You'll Become Like Us voice are the best, but no. They're so human in their voice, which I think makes them incredibly creepy, these 80s Cybermen, and they're also the best design. That's what I'm going to say about that. Oh, no, I'm not. The Cyber Controller, I don't know if anybody's noticed about it, he had duct tape around his wrists because they couldn't fit his costume on properly. There we go. Trivia.
Thanks for that trivia, Jake. And Colin Baker's actually on, I saw him this morning on something advertised for a new, he's on some sort of canal trip, isn't he?
Caravan program.
Oh, is it a caravan program on Channel 5, or something? Yeah. So he's getting around. So does anybody else have anything to add? Ethan, any favourite moments? Or?
Yeah, again...
You just want to go toilet. Is that what you're putting your hand up for? Or?
No, I do agree with Jake. These were
I don't agree with Jake. I'm not having this.
One of the first Cybermen I saw years ago, and I do like these ones, and I do like the way they talk, even though they sound like Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, but we will take over. They do sound like quite
excellent.
They really do, but I do agree with the whole, they sound a little bit more human than the other Cybermen, because that makes it a bit more creepy how there is a human corpse in this robotic body. But Lytton, again, I already mentioned, I do like him as a character. I remember the first time I saw him in Resurrection of the Daleks, I was one of those ones where I was like, he's a proper good villain. And then, of course, at the end, he does become good. He was on the side of the Cryons. Colin Baker did have some good funny lines. I mean, they're very Roger Moore-like, but they were a few that was funny. I think that's pretty much it, really. I can't think of any other favourite parts, really.
So I'm just so distracted about Alex blowing gum. Sorry.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Alex, has that not run out yet? Has that not lost its flavour? I assume it's chewing gum he's chewing on. Anyway, does anybody else have any other favourite moments? Otherwise, we're going to start wrapping this up because it's.
Oh,
I do like Colin Baker's outfit. I think.
Yeah, I do as well.
And I'd like there is a T-shirt available with all the colours on it. So I'm going to buy that. And it is better than any Matt Smith episode. I have my say.
I would stand up, but yes, but I'll give that a round of applause. I think we're going to leave it there because that is the most sensible thing someone said tonight. In fact, that's the most sensible thing someone's ever said on these casts.
Oh, I got one else to say. One thing. Where's Matt Smith's success after Doctor Who? You hardly hear of him. And Colin Baker's on all these programs.
Yeah, he's doing caravanning.
Yeah.
That's what you call success.
Yeah.
That is success. You caravanning on Channel 5. That is success.
And he was on I'm a Celebrity. That was so cool. Yeah. I so voted for him.
That's success for you guys. Anyway. I don't know whether that was praising Colin Baker. I don't know. Let's go to final say and score. Let's go to Harry.
The first favorite moment, I'd say, would be seeing the Totters change form. May not have been the greatest things for the communion circuit to be working. But I'm just happy we were able to see it working. See it working again.
Yep. What's your final say and score, Harry?
I'd rate the story a 4 out of 10.
Well, that's fair enough. That's okay. Let's go Stephen Price.
I'd give it 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Let's go to Alex and Susan before they nod off very quickly.
Yeah.
And then you can go to sleep as long as you want.
No, it's all right. Yeah,
We're
great cast, great ideas.
Lots of them,
The
yeah.
execution, could have used a little work, and the Cryans could have used a little bit more work. But I'd give it a 7.5. And like I said, Varos is better, but that's the next story.
And I'll give this 9.5 out of 10 because it's really, really cool, and I really love the interplay and the guest stars, and I think that Perry and Sixie were fun, and so much sass, so much snark. I agree with Alex.
Well, we would go to go carry on.
And and agreeing with Alex is a good thing.
Well, we would go to Lee, but at the moment he's rubbing his cyber head. So we're going to go to Jake instead.
Hey,
Yeah, you're the only Jake in here, I think, aren't you?
sorry, I was laughing too loud. Right, it's a 8.5 from me. It's a nice little story. I do enjoy it when I sit down and watch it.
And let's go to Ethan.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the first part more than the second part because there was so much going on. But overall, I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to give it a 7.
7's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a decent score.
Again, like Stephen said, better than any Matt Smith story. And I really do agree with that one. It was a great answer. Love it.
Ethan's now my second favourite member of the group. Just below Stephen.
It really is. But it is a nice, decent Cyberman story. And the characters are great. And they do play them really well. And it is an interesting story. For the one thing, I do wish it could have been longer. But we've all said that.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Oh. Well, split it into parts. That's what I'm saying. 7 out of 10 for a nice, decent Cyberman story. An enjoyable one, too.
Thank you, Ethan. And let's go to Lee, who is still rubbing his cyber head. Excellent. Dung.
That felt good.
I love it when he goes excellent. He goes dong.
What's the other one? Bring me the bomb.
Yes.
Excellent.
Excellent. I just love him.
Cybermen shouldn't say excellent because isn't that sort of euphemism area of emotion? Excellent.
Yes.
Or very good.
Well, what do you expect them to say? Delete?
Well, yeah, but saying excellent is sort of showing emotion. And they're not supposed to have emotion. But there, anyway, forget about that.
Maybe excellent means something different to Cybermen.
I don't know.
They are a different species. Well, technically a different species.
Well, not really.
No, they're us, but
They're from the twin planet.
Yes.
From our twin planet. So really, they were Mondasians who were like similar to humans.
Yes.
What was you asking?
I've no idea.
Yeah.
Are you here next week?
I'm here every week, folks.
Oh.
Excellent. He's here every week.
That was quite creepy, actually.
That gave me the willies.
You wish.
Oh, yeah.
Apply below, folks. We'll leave his number. Carry on.
Yeah, I agree. Colin Baker's been given a bum rap. He was a
A
scapegoat.
bum rap, oh my God.
He was given.
Was this when he was caravanning?
It was out when he was out in the bush in the jungle. He was made a scapegoat by Graydon Powell. But he's a brilliant actor. His Doctor's brilliant, as Jake has pointed out. Please check out the Big Finish videos with him in it, because they do make his Doctor shine even brighter, even when you can't even see the coat on audio. But for this story, I'm giving it because I just didn't like the 45-minute format. I still don't. I'm giving it a 7.75.
See, that's not bad. I think a lot of Colin Baker stories are actually underrated. People hate them because it's popular to hate them, because they hear bad things about them. But when you sit down and watch them, I mean, my brother's watching classic Doctor Who for the first time on Twitch. And I know they haven't reached, well, they might have reached Colin Baker now, or they're still on. Yeah.
Not today. Not yet.
They haven't reached it yet. Oh, but he's enjoyed classic Who so much. I mean, my brother's only watched New Who, and he absolutely adores classic Who now. He's completely converted. I've been telling him for donkey's years, you should watch classic Who because it's great. And I keep on telling him, I say, look, you like these New Who episodes? I say, yes, some of them are good, but classic Who is where it's at. And he's now watching classic Who, and he's realised how good Doctor Who can and was. And hopefully, who knows, will be again. And you know what? I do love Colin Baker's era. It's not great. It's definitely not like a golden era of Doctor Who, for sure.
Can I say something?
Yep.
Colin Baker was fired, and so was Peter Capaldi for a female Doctor.
That's right, actually. They were. Same situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people do...
Sylvester McCoy was not a female Doctor.
They were originally...
That is hogwash. And you guys who think Sylvester McCoy is a female Doctor are nutters.
Well, we'll have to ask Sylvester McCoy. It's going to be a big shock for Sylvester McCoy if he finds out all this time he's a woman after all these years.
No, Colin Baker and Peter Capaldi were fired. Peter Capaldi was fired.
Well, so we definitely know for sure Colin Baker was fired.
Because Chibnall wanted a female Doctor.
But it was unfair for Colin because it wasn't Colin's fault. And Colin was a good actor and a good Doctor. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Sylvester McCoy, especially his last 2 seasons. But Colin Baker was unfairly treated, really unfairly treated. And yeah, a lot of people do compare Capaldi to Colin Baker's Doctor. And I still think it's unfair because it's not their fault. It's the writing and it's down to the showrunner. And it's as simple as that. You can't blame Colin and you can't blame Capaldi.
The new showrunner now didn't want a male.
Yeah, but can I just say? Yeah, but there's nothing wrong in that. If that's Chibnall's vision of the show, as long as he can create a good show, it doesn't matter. Everybody has their own vision. Look, everybody has their own vision of the Doctor.
Peter Capaldi wanted this as the Doctor.
Yeah.
Right? But Chibnall didn't want him because he.
Yeah, but so what's wrong with that? Chibnall's a new showrunner. He can fight. Chibnall can say, "I want a new Doctor" if he wants. He's entitled to. Yeah, but Chibnall is entitled as the new showrunner to say what Doctor he wants. He's been picked as a showrunner.
The screwed up thing was that, okay, boys, we're getting off topic. The screwed up thing was that Colin Baker was fired, and he was fired by the same showrunner, and in the continuity of the same showrunner all the way to the end. It wasn't a change in everything like it is.
It wasn't JNT that fired Colin, though, was it?
No, I don't know who fired Colin, but whoever did, they were idiots.
Can I just add, in a way, Hartnell was fired.
Well, that was because he couldn't hold on to his lines. He was sick.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. They didn't want him to carry on, so in a way they let him go as well. The same as they did with Colin and with Capaldi. They weren't the first doctors. Hartnell was the first doctor who they sort of said, "Okay, we've had enough of you. We need someone else."
Braden and Powell demanded Colin be fired. They told JNT to fire him. JNT would not go and do it quickly, so they went and told him, "You're fired."
The truth of the matter is, if a doctor is not seen as popular, which sadly was the case for Colin and is the case for Capaldi in general, the fangirls don't like him, then they will fire them. Because at the end of the day, the show's got to maximize its audience. The shows don't run on thin air. They don't run on fan bases. They have to get the general public to watch. And if we like it or not, that's what Jodie's there for.
But the 80s crew was a bunch of hardcore science fiction
But
fans.
that's why it got cancelled, because it just went to the hardcore fans. You can't just keep the hardcore fans. You have to get the casual viewer, the viewer that doesn't usually watch sci-fi, into the show to keep it going.
And that was what Nicola Bryant was there to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but Colin didn't do that.
For the before the revelation that 50 or a greater percentage were queer watching than was ever anticipated, people thought that Nicola Bryant and then Bonnie Langford could actually create an audience because of their charm and their abilities and their other assets. They have that was what was thought. I mean, Nicola Bryant, they even turned her into an American to try and cross the Great Pond. They really did. They had a bigger audience in mind back then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But Colin Baker was fired unfairly by the same showrunner and the higher ups, yes, but the same showrunner that kept going. Peter Capaldi is a totally different idea, and unfortunately, his story is different, and like the whole thing is shifting. I mean, not even the Doctor Who magazine are continuing with the same crew. This whole thing is like a whole different era starting, and that's just the way it is. It's different from Colin Baker, though.
But can I just say something? That's fine, and that has to happen. You see, people forget Doctor Who constantly has to evolve. If Doctor Who wants to be relevant in 5 years' time, it needs to evolve now. And this is what Chibnall understands, is that Doctor Who needs to survive for 5 years from now, not for a year, but for 5 and 10 years. And this is what Chibnall is doing. He's shifting it again, like Doctor Who has always shifted. And he's doing the right thing. Now, some people won't like it and may never watch again. I mean, you're entitled to never watch again. There's things that I once liked and I don't watch again. And in the future, maybe I won't watch the next showrunner, or the next Doctor even, like I didn't Matt Smith. But the show, I always agree, the show has to always move on. Yeah. And hopefully one day the show will come back to you. But for now, it's taken a leap. Like it did with me and Matt Smith. It just took a leap.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have to like every Doctor. You don't have to like every showrunner. I don't really like Stephen Moffat.
But I really like everybody. So there.
Yes.
Well, that is the other issue with Doctor Who, is the fact that the best years of the show was either the writing or the fact that they change the producers every 3 to 5 years. And unfortunately, even though John Nathan Turner did keep the show alive, some of his ideas were not accepted at all. And he was around toward the end of the 4th Doctor era, the 5th Doctor era, the 6th Doctor era, and the 7th. So, I mean, he's covering almost, 4 Doctors. And what's that, almost 8 to 10 years, if not more, just like Moffat took over, from... Yeah, so it's too bad that they couldn't find a way to sort of say, let's bring in more people to try to gel, theoretically. Of course, in reality, maybe that didn't happen anyway. But it does seem like the 4th Doctor, the 3rd Doctor, they did try to bring in new people, new producers, and it did seem to help the tone more than when you settle for just one producer for 8 to 10 years, if not more.
They didn't settle for one producer. Nobody wanted the job.
No one wanted the job. In fact,
John Nathan Turner tried to leave on numerous occasions, and they would not accept his resignation.
And that just basically went to Andrew Carmel, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who had a great vision for the show.
Yeah,
I have to say, he had a great vision for the show, though, didn't he? He really brought the show back in the last 2 seasons to quite good quality, actually.
Yeah, Andrew Carmel is the master.
Yeah, no, he was excellent. I wish he'd brought the show back, to be honest, but
yeah, he was really good because he had like a really good vision of like the mystery of who are you, Doc?
Yeah, exactly. I'm more than just another Time Lord. Yeah,
with Omega and this other being that was supposedly disintegrated, but then became the Doctor. But it was bigger than that, much longer. But if only that vision was realized. I think that would have been such a phenomenal story.
Anyway, we'll have to wrap this up now because I think everybody's given their score, haven't they? Apart from me. Yeah. So I'm going to give it. Do you know what? I'm going to give it an 8. I do quite enjoy it. I actually generally do quite enjoy it. It's Colin Baker, not a great Doctor, but he's a good Doctor, and like we've said, he is underrated. And there's a lot of, he's always at the bottom of polls on good Doctors, and so, do you know what annoys me? When some people put him underneath John Hurt. I'm sorry, putting Colin Baker, an actual Doctor, under John Hurt. No, I don't like that. He's above John Hurt. I know John Hurt's good, but he's only the War Doctor. He's not had a true episode.
Colin Baker shall be above Matt Smith.
On that we can agree with.
Yes, we can agree. Everyone
You're just feeding Alec candy now, Stephen.
Everybody in this group, including Alex, is above Matt Smith.
He's an horrible person to meet, and he made crap episodes.
Yeah. Well, you should have seen how he treated Alex and Susan in that photo.
No, really, he was scared of the wheelchair, and I wasn't even close to him, barely.
But we're not talking about Colin.
But anyway, Colin Baker, he was the War Doctor because if you watch his,
you're in another building.
He's at war with himself. I mean, for goodness sake, almost every episode he's in a war. He's in a war with the Daleks, the Cybermen, even the Time Lords, man. I mean, so Colin Baker's the War Doctor. Really, if you watch the episodes. We lost.
Oh, thank God. Do you know what? Just cut off. We finished now, Susan. You can cut it off.